Everyone says renting is throwing money away. Your parents say it. Your coworkers say it. Even that random uncle at family dinners won't shut up about it. But here's what nobody tells you. By the end of this video, you'll understand why buying a house might actually be the thing that's throwing away your future. And no, this isn't some clickbait nonsense. I'm about to show you the real math that banks, real estate agents, and your well-meaning relatives conveniently forget to mention. Let me introduce you to someone. Let's call him Felix. Felix is 28 years old. He's got a decent job, saves a little money every month, and lately, he's been feeling the pressure. His cousin just bought a house. His parents keep asking when he's going to buy. His coworkers talk about their mortgages like badges of honor, and every time Felix pays rent, he feels like he's failing at adulthood. Sound familiar? So Felix does what everyone tells him to do. He starts saving for a down payment. He browses real estate listings. He dreams about that backyard, that garage, that feeling of finally being a real adult. But here's where things get interesting. Felix decides to actually run the numbers. Not the pretty numbers the real estate agent shows him. The real numbers. The ones nobody wants to talk about. Let's break this down together. Felix finds a house for $300,000. Seems reasonable, right? He's been paying $1,500 a month in rent. A mortgage payment of around $2,000 doesn't seem like a huge jump. But wait, that $2,000 mortgage? That's just the beginning. First, there's property taxes. Depending on where Felix lives, that could be anywhere from $3,000 to $6,000 a year. Let's say $4,000. That's an extra $330 every single month. Then there's home insurance, another $100 to $200 a month. HOA fees? If Felix buys in a neighborhood with one, that could be another $200 to $400 monthly. So that $2,000 mortgage just became $2,700 or more. But most people don't know this part. When Felix pays that mortgage every month, how much actually goes toward owning the house? In the first years of a 30-year mortgage, almost 80% of the payment goes straight to interest. Not to building equity, not to ownership, just interest payments going directly into the bank's pocket. So Felix is paying $2,700 a month, and only about $500 is actually making him wealthier. Let's compare that to renting. Felix pays $1,500 in rent. $0 goes to equity. But wait, what if Felix took that $1,200 difference and invested it? Here's where the math gets really interesting. $1,200 a month invested in a simple index fund, averaging 7% returns over 30 years, becomes $1.4 million. Read that again. $1.4 million. Now let's look at what Felix gets if he buys instead. After 30 years, he owns a $300,000 house. Maybe it appreciated to $600,000 if he's lucky. $600,000 versus $1.4 million. But it gets worse. We haven't even talked about the hidden costs of homeownership. The things that nobody mentions at the closing table. The hot water heater that dies 3 years in. That's $1,000. The roof that needs replacing after 15 years. That's $10,000 to $20,000. The foundation crack that appears one random Tuesday. Could be $5,000. Could be $50,000. You never know. The HVAC system that gives up during the hottest week of summer. $4,000 to $8,000. On average, homeowners spend 1% to 2% of their home's value every year on maintenance and repairs. For a $300,000 house, that's $3,000 to $6,000 annually, or $250 to $500 monthly. Add that to Felix's costs, and suddenly he's paying over $3,000 a month to own a house, while his renter friend pays $1,500 and invests the difference. But here's the part that really changes everything. Flexibility. When Felix rents, he can move for a better job opportunity in 3 months. No problem. Break the lease, pay a small fee, and go chase that 50% raise in another city. But when Felix owns, he's trapped. Selling a house costs 6% in realtor fees. That's $18,000 on a $300,000 house, plus closing costs, plus the time it takes to sell, which could be months. So when that dream job offer comes from another state, Felix has to say no, because he can't afford to sell. He hasn't built enough equity yet. He might even owe more than the house is worth. This is called being house poor, and millions of people are stuck in this exact situation right now. They bought the dream, but the dream became a cage. Now let me be clear. I'm not saying buying a house is always a bad idea, but I am saying it's not always a good idea either. The rent versus buy decision depends on so many factors that nobody talks about. How long are you staying? If you're moving in less than 5 years, buying almost never makes financial sense. The transaction costs alone will eat up any equity you've built. What's the price to rent ratio in your area? In some cities, it's way cheaper to rent. In others, buying makes more sense. You have to do the math for your specific situation. What would you do with the money you save? If you're just going to spend it on fancy dinners and vacations, then sure, forced savings through a mortgage might help you. But if you're disciplined enough to invest the difference, renting often wins. What's your career trajectory? Are you in a stable job, in a stable industry, in a stable location? Or are you in tech where the best opportunities might require moving every few years? These questions matter, but nobody asks them. They just repeat the same old advice their grandparents gave them in 1975, back when houses cost $50,000, back when a single income could support a family of 4 and buy a home, back when the rules were completely different. The world has changed. The math has changed, but the advice stayed the same. And that outdated advice is costing people hundreds of thousands of dollars. Let me tell you about Felix's cousin, the one who bought the house and made Felix feel bad about renting. 3 years later, that cousin got a job offer with a 60% raise. Different city, amazing opportunity, but he couldn't take it because he was underwater on his mortgage. He had bought at the top of the market, property values dipped, he owed more than the house was worth, so he stayed, watched his friends and former colleagues get ahead, all because he did what everyone said was the responsible thing. Meanwhile, Felix, the one who kept renting and invested the difference, he took a similar job offer in year 2, moved across the country in 3 weeks, got that raise, invested even more. His net worth kept climbing. 5 years later, Felix had more wealth than his cousin who bought the house. Not because he got lucky, but because he did the math instead of following the crowd. So here's what I want you to take away from this. The next time someone tells you renting is throwing money away, ask them this. Did you calculate the opportunity cost of your down payment? Most people don't even know what opportunity cost means. Did you factor in maintenance, repairs, and transaction costs? Most people conveniently forget these. Did you consider what you could have earned by investing the difference? Most people never run this comparison. And most importantly, did you do the math for your specific situation? Or did you just do what everyone told you to do? Because that's the real trap. Not renting, not buying. The trap is making one of the biggest financial decisions of your life based on feelings instead of math. Based on what your parents did instead of what makes sense today. Based on societal pressure instead of personal calculation. Felix learned this the hard way, by actually running the numbers before making a decision. And now you know it too. You don't have to feel guilty about renting. You don't have to rush into buying just because you hit a certain age. You don't have to let anyone else define what financial success looks like for you. Run the numbers.